Just in, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled just minutes ago that 98,000 voters whose status was in question will now get a full ballot for the November election. Here's the hangup. The longtime voters never provided proof of citizenship because of a computer glitch at the MVD that went on for 20 years.
12 News journalist Bram Resnick tells us the court case provided a rare moment of unity for Arizona politicians. Bram?
Yeah, it did. You had the Republican Party chair and Secretary of State Adrian Fontes uniting and saying what had to be done in this case. And in the end, the Arizona Supreme Court agreed with them. These 98,000 voters will get the ballot they've always received, even though they have not provided proof of citizenship. That happened because they voted, they got their driver's license back in 1996. Our vote, our registration goes through the MVD, which tracks whether we provided proof of citizenship or not. The computer glitch showed they did not provide proof of citizenship. An employee in the Maricopa County Recorder's Office discovered that, and suddenly they learned that for 20 years, no one had been tracking their citizenship. So the election officials were left with the question, can they get the full ballot, or under Arizona law, if they haven't provided citizenship, they can only get what's called the Fed-only ballot, which would allow them to vote only in federal races, President, Congress, the Senate. That was the issue before the Supreme Court. Should they get the full ballot or the Fed-only ballot? Most of these voters, if not all of them, don't know they're on this list yet. As it turns out with the ruling today, they will get the full ballot they have always received. So as we stand here, it's as if none of this ever happened. However, elections officials now must go back at their computer system and figure out exactly what went wrong and how they are going to fix it so this doesn't happen again. Mark?
Now, Bram, look, everyone's going to wonder, whose fault is this? In a state where we frequently have issues with our voting, is this an MVD issue because of the computer, or does the blame lie somewhere else?
It appears to be a computer issue. I think there will be an investigation into this, what went wrong. The state does not have a very good reputation for having up-to-date computer systems. It does a lot of patches for a lot of things, especially when new laws are written that they have to deal with in their computers, take account for that. That's proved to be a problem in the past. If you remember, during the pandemic, all the problems that the Department of Economic Security had with the computers that are supposed to spit out unemployment checks. That was a near disaster. So now we're seeing it in MVD, the Motor Vehicles Division, and their computers, which also work with a state computer database. It's not just MVD alone. They're going to have to clean that up and perhaps get new equipment, spend some money. That's something the legislature has always been hesitant to do, which is spend money on new technology.
So, Bram, bottom line here for those 98,000 voters, I mean, basically it's status quo, nothing to worry about, everything will remain the same.
That is my understanding. The Supreme Court decision that came out a few minutes ago is really kind of muddy about some things, but based on what Secretary of State Adrian Fontes has said to us in the last few days, it appears it is status quo. There would have been a huge headache tracking down 98,000 voters to find out what their citizenship status was. Fontes was preparing to do that. He was going to set up a portal. He's been working with a congressman and DHS and with our own DHS here, the Department of Health Services, which keeps birth records, to figure out how many of them were actually citizens. So I think all that can be set aside. Folks, you may not even know you were ever on that list unless you know if you got a license before 1996 and are still voting, you were probably on it. But it looks like we can rest easy now. Those voters will get their full ballot, and we'll move on and hopefully fix this for 2026.
And lastly, 98,000 is not an insignificant number in a state where some elections were won by the slimmest of margins. Do you think we'll see some lawsuits down the road?
Well, not now. This hopefully clarifies it. There might be, here's the one issue I could see perhaps, there might be some lawsuits over voters who have not provided proof of citizenship getting the full ballot. You know, we've heard over the last several weeks and months that's been a big issue here in Arizona. Demands for proof of citizenship for every voter. There's a pending court case over that. And in Congress, the SAVE Act would have required proof of citizenship for every voter. So that's still an issue that's out there. Is it possible somebody could sue over the Supreme Court decision and what Arizona is going to do? I'm not sure. That's beyond, I don't want to go any farther than that. But this will continue to be an issue, and it might only fire up those folks. I should add, though, both Stephen Richer, the Maricopa County Recorder, and Adrian Fontes, the Secretary of State, have said there are few, if any, non-citizens on that list. The idea that non-citizens vote in elections has been proved to be largely false. The numbers are tiny.
All right.
Okay. Good news for the voters then. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bram.